Can you guys hear me? If you guys can hear me, let me know. Type something in the box here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Thanks, Rhonda. Appreciate it. If you guys can hear me, let me know. Cormoon, appreciate it. Type something in the box here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Thanks, Rhonda. Appreciate it. Okay, let me turn this off. There's like a little bit of a delay here. Okay. Good morning. We can hear you. Good. Catherine, Miss B, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody showing up. Really do. All right, guys. We're going to go deep today. A little bit deep. Something that's a little bit dear and near to my heart, which is possession. So, it's more a little bit the esoteric side of my life here. So, it's a little smoky. Kind of forgive me because I saged the heck out of this space big time. All right. So, going to wait to get it started right now. It's 10:59, so better late than never, right? So let's jump right in with this. All right. Just want to clear this space a little bit. Okay. All right. So, guardian angels, ancestors, please give me ability to accurately describe all the details and to articulate them clearly. So shall it be done. All right. Here we go. All right, so Team Virgo, Pamela, Lisa, thank you all you guys showing up. Really appreciate it. So here we go. We're going to start, and first thing I want to start off is with, I'm going to give you a little bit of a barometer into the situation, my personal situation, and I'll take it from there. So, my first encounter with a demonic entity was when I was 12 years old. All right. Some of you may have already know about my childhood a little bit, but I'm going to kind of dig into it just a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of go from there. So, when I was 12 years old, like any typical 12-year-old, very, very moody, very opinionated. And my family moved into this house, okay? So there was something very strange, a very strange air and aura about the house that we moved to, actually. But, I kind of just thought it was me. So I came into contact with this demonic entity when my family was out of the house. I was there by myself, and I knew I never wanted to be in the basement by myself, ever. All right, it was kind of instinctively just something that I knew. Now, my first impressions was, maybe I'm scaring myself and watching a little bit too many scary movies, things like that. But I just kind of instinctively knew that. So I go down the basement to get my laundry, and as I'm approaching the basement, there's this room in the back. This door is always closed. It's never open for any reason. Why? Because the door was kind of hard to get open. So I go downstairs. As I'm going downstairs, directly in my line of sight, I see this this big black mass. It wasn't really a mass. It had shape of a big muscular figure with a bald head. All right. So I go to the dryer, and I kind of paused for a minute. I was like, wait a minute. Did I just did I just see that? Again, remember, I'm 12 years old here, so I'm kind of trying to process this whole thing, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not real. So, like any uh, person, I guess, especially a kid, I kind of peeked out from the door, and this thing. I just want to set the stage for you guys here. This thing was there. It was big. It was massive. It was very, very muscular, and it was bald. And then I began to kind of smell the telltale signs, a very pungent, repugnant smell of sulfur. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. It was very pungent. This thing got up, it smiled at me, and every bone in my body was just fixed, but something was pulling me to the back door. Somehow I managed to push myself to the back door to get out, and this thing just started coming at me. I left out, went around back, and slammed the door behind me. So that was my first encounter with this demonic entity. All right. Now, this entity would later end up possessing my father. No one else in the house could feel this but me. And so, which brings me to the point, it's going to bring me to the point here of passive possession, because that's pretty much how a lot of these things start. Most of us, okay, depending on our energy levels at some point or another, kind of deal with passive possession. So there are lower vibrational entities that are out here, okay? And especially in times of depression, it's normal to be depressed, but when you start becoming a little bit more, it starts to become a little bit more manic, that's when what I call, okay, my term is passive possession. So there are these lower level entities that basically feed off of our energy. So in other words, we're like a moth to the flame, in other words. So these entities are attracted to our life force. And when things start to become manic, like I just want to quantify this, it is totally normal at times to be depressed. That's totally normal. But when things start to become manic, you're depressed all the time, and your thoughts start really drifting to more darker places. That's usually the telltale sign that just there's a little bit more going on here than just a regular depressive situation. Then things like suicide start to creep up into the ether. More violent thoughts about doing harm to others. So that's more like a passive possession type of thing. It happens to all of us. That's why I constantly tell you guys, always bring up your vibrational energies all the time, because we are, contrary to popular belief, we share this plane with other entities. We do. All right. And a lot of these lower entities are just kind of waiting to pounce for the right time, just to pounce and kind of, suck the energy, suck the life force out of a lot of us. So that's why I say always meditate and always bring up your levels of energy all the time. All right. So that's more of a passive, and that's very common, by the way. Passive possession is very common. It just kind of it attaches itself to you, and then it kind of leaves you. So and usually these things happen like the higher your vibrational energy is. So give me an example. Let's just say you go out drinking, okay, and you're intoxicated, and so you're vulnerable. You're not just vulnerable to regular influence, but you also become more susceptible to more demonic influence too. So when your inhibitions are down, that's when these things begin to kind of take hold. All right. So again, that's why I really want to stress. I'm not trying to be against drinking, because I still do it myself occasionally, but just kind of be aware you're kind of opening yourselves up. The devil's brew, that type of thing. Engaging in spirits. There's a reason why a lot of these terms have been lobbed onto drinking and things of that nature, because there's believe it or not, there's actually something to that. Again, this is very common. And as, like you said, you have a hangover, there is a chemical imbalance that you're dealing with. But as you know, you start to get better, your energy levels get better, then these things begin to kind of fall away from you. So, okay, I promise I'll read you guys' comments later. I promise I'll read them. All right, so again, that's passive possession. Then we move to something when things get a little bit more worrisome, and this is when schizophrenia and possession kind of start to become merged a little bit. Because schizophrenia, there are a lot of people that are schizophrenic. Believe it or not, about 45% of people with schizophrenia suffer from actual demonic impressions. Okay, unfortunately, the regular medical society does not recognize demonic possession as even a thing. I have two stories that I want to really get a little bit more in depth in. So the first would be you have so when you see someone that is gradually changes over a period of time. So it's like a gradual change in personality, a gradual change in the things that they like and the things that they do. It's very gradual, and that's what happened to my father. And I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about that. But the first story I want to talk to you about is a story of possession. Someone that was very, very dear to me, a young lady. And this happened rather suddenly. And it was. I mean, even though you know you may be familiar with that type of thing because of what I was doing at the time, it's very different theoretically talking about a situation and then actually experiencing a situation. Completely different. And this kind of caught me a little bit flat-footed. I was a little bit surprised, but it happened so suddenly. So let me give you a little bit of the backstory here. So this young lady, she was going through some things in her personal life, and she met this guy. Now, personally, I wasn't too high on the guy, to be honest with you. I really didn't think there was anything particularly special about him, but she was just head over heels. She just head over heels fell for him. All right. And so she went out with him a couple of times, and things kind of, she was kind of cool, but I kind of noticed that she began to become more attached to this guy, like unnaturally so. I was like, wow, you okay? What's up? So she really, she just became very obsessive with him, and it was very unusual. Also, she was a very inverted individual. All right. And, she really started to become a lot more sexually aggressive in her tone, really kind of, started to do a lot of lying. She was a very honest, straight up person. So, I mean, she was just doing some hardcore lying, like about things that were just weird. And so, the funny thing is she had her phone. She was doing something on her phone. We were having a conversation, and I kind of glanced over at it, and she was looking at this form about signs of possession. So she had a feeling that she kind of knew something was wrong, but she was feeling this feeling of euphoria. Come to find out here that this guy that she was dealing with was putting the date rape drug in her water. So that was one thing. So he was a douche for doing that, obviously. But what ended up happening was that opened her up to be possessed by an entity. Now, there are different levels of demonic entities. This wasn't a low level thing by any stretch of the imagination. Wasn't a higher level entity either, which is kind of something in the middle, and it kind of drastically changed her personality. And I'm gonna tell you something. Like, it was touch and go there for a little bit. Because again, because of because we were so close, there are certain, rituals and things that, usually when I'm doing something like that, I'm usually detached from the person. So, it's easier to do what you need to do. When someone's closer to you, it's a little bit different. Okay, there's personal stakes involved here, and it was touch and go for a while. It was literally like weaning her off of a drug. That's how it was, away from this guy, and also, her personality began to kind of come back to, she began to be balanced at one point though. What was really odd was she broke out. Like, she broke out all over her face, her hands, her private parts. She's just like, and there was even the thought maybe there's like some kind of STD thing going on here. She got checked out, everything came back normal. And so that's why so that was one of those situations where, being in that type of situation, with a person that's of low vibrational energy to begin with, she ended up putting herself in a situation where she was exposed to something a little bit more demonic. And again, we talk about the story a lot. She remembers certain parts and certain parts she doesn't remember. But one thing that she really wanted to stress was, which is why it was so hard to break away from the situation, is that her crown chakra, not crown chakra, her chakra, her sexual chakra was on fire all the time. Like, she was sexually aroused all of the time. And that was why it was hard for her to break away from the situation, because she was constantly in like an orgasmic state. So, it was, so I mean, that's one of the things here that I wanted to make you guys aware of as well. So, it's not like a kind of a one size fits all. Believe it or not, demonic, possession, there are certain telltale signs of things that are very common, okay? But then there are things that are very, very unique just to the individual. So that was one such situation. Just to give you a full update on, she's fine now. She's very healthy, very balanced. But that was a real personal situation which I witnessed. Also, it turns out that there was another situation when she was also involved with, is where she was talking to this individual, and this individual was just dripping with dread. Okay, and she was in a situation where, as though she was in the bedroom, and I kind of felt, I was in the living room, I kind of felt some rumbling going on. A couple of friends of us, so we were over it, and so we began to hear like some rumbling in the room. We come in there, her eyes are just kind of like fixated, and she's flopping on and off the bed. Turns out this girl is she's very intuitive. She's very, very psychic. Okay, and apparently, like I said about the moth to the flame thing, when you really emanate a lot of energy and you have abilities as well, these entities attach onto you, and they're feasting off of you. So she was one of those type of people, that came to the realization that, what, you're kind of susceptible to this type of thing, so you're going to have to learn how to protect yourself. And so, she does this whole every day, this whole ritual of like grounding herself. She does a lot of mantras, does a lot of deep meditation. She does, and this is like a routine she does before she even goes outside. So in that particular circumstance, there are other people that are more susceptible to possession than others. And in her particular case, It just became a regular part of her existence, which was to, make sure she's grounded, make sure she's balanced, make sure she says her mantras, make sure she fully engages herself before she goes out into the world. And that's just something she does every single day. So just that's just keep that was that particular situation. So in terms of my father, it was more gradual though. Let me say this though. Uh, in the situation of my father, um, there was already some things that were already going on already in his personal life, that he couldn't deal with. My mom at the time, she was going back to work. My father was used to being, the king of the castle, that sort of thing. So the financial dynamics were kind of beginning to change. So he was already kind of dealing with that situation. Um, and so that's what kind of made him more susceptible. Now, like I said, that demonic entity, I still to this day don't know if, again, this thing attracted my father or my father was attracted to this entity. I have not been able to um, figure that out actually, and I've dug pretty deep in the history of the home and so forth, so on. So, but nevertheless, it was a gradual change in personality, a gradual change in habits. One thing that I will say, and I'm not going to, Hollywood, they get a lot of things wrong, but sometimes they get some things right. And I'm not advocating either for or against this particular movie, the Amityville Horror. Um, his personality, the father in that movie, that was my dad. There were things on the outside that were bothering him, but it started to take more of an insidious hold on him, and you could see he became a lot more. I mean, he became very, very violent, um, um, very, very aggressive, very, very mean spirited individual. And, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And so you could gradually, again, it's kind of like the pot and the frog. So, give you guys a little bit of background. I eventually was taken out of my family's home because of the abuse that kind of had started, and I was living with my grandmother. So I was away from all that was going on there. I still had two brothers that were there, and my mother that was there. It's a long story. If you guys want to see the deep backstory, you can look at my personal story. But so I was away from it. So 2 years later, when I end up coming back to my family's home, everything had changed. Like the entity had really taken a hold of every single living soul in that house, including my younger brothers. It was amazing to see. My mother was completely different. My father was completely different. Completely different. My brothers were kind of themselves, but you could tell there's like this oppressive feeling in the home. Um, Things finally end up coming to a culmination here when he stabbed me. Um, Again, he stabbed me, and it punctured my liver, my kidney, and my diaphragm. So the knife almost came out of my back. It was very long. Those old school Rambo knives. That's what he stabbed me with. Um, Now, his eyes were his pupils were completely dilated. There wasn't a drug thing going on here. There was no drugs. There was no alcohol or anything. He was perfectly cognizant of what he was doing, but the things he was saying was just so off the wall, so off the wall. And I knew right there that there was something that was, me and my father never kind of saw eye to eye, but this had been taken to a whole new level really, really, really fast. Okay, not only that, but as he was leaving, I looked back, and in the distance, I saw that entity. Because up to that point, I had not seen that entity before. But after the stabbing, when he was going back to the house and I was bleeding out, I saw the entity. And so, I knew right then and there that at the age of 12, I think what I've come to understand through my studies and my understanding of the occult is that the thing originally wanted me, okay? For a multitude of different reasons, a lot more driven, it had a lot more of a golden glow of a light. So it initially wanted me, but since I was able to get out of the situation, the next best thing was my father. And so, it kind of brought down everything. So, it was more gradual. And to be honest with you, that's when the whole schizophrenic thing starts to become somewhat of an issue because when behavior becomes psychotic, okay, there's this thinking of, well, is this demonic? Is this demonic in nature, or is this just a malfunction of certain chemistries in the brain? And that's why a lot of mainstream medicine doesn't really recognize it because it's like this really veiled thin line here because of psychotic behavior. Because again, you can be schizophrenic and not be necessarily psychotic. You know what I mean? So again, how I usually when I'm involved in a situation where there may be some type of possession involved, there are certain telltale things that I look for. So one would be, of course, a psychological evaluation of the individual. That's one. Number two, a physical examination of the individual. Because believe it or not, even with schizophrenia, sometimes people get abilities and they are able to do things that, that they normally wouldn't be able to do. So forth, like strength and sometimes in some cases even the intellectuality of the individual begins to type of supersede what they've been able to do in the past. A person that's barely able to do math, all of a sudden they become a calculus wizard. So there are those things, and that's not necessarily things of possession. That could be something. Again, the mind also is a very complex thing. I look for other telltale things as well, like interviewing people around them. So, what's the energy like in the home? What's the energy like in the home? Is there anything else that's happening in the area other than in the immediate area, other than the individual, other than that individual just demonstrating abilities that they didn't normally have? So there's other things that goes into play when you're looking for the telltale signs of demonic possession. And so that's what makes the schizophrenic and demonic possession thing a little bit harder to pinpoint. Now, as far as the demonic entity that I was dealing with, I experienced, right before I met Lupe and had my ayahuasca experience. As I said before, I was experiencing a lot of these things, and a lot of the stuff I was just kind of teaching myself because it was hard to find someone that really knew what they were doing, and that was really able to explain some of the experiences that I was having. Like at one point, I was seeing when I got stabbed, I was seeing auras and feeling people's energy, and I thought I was losing my mind. I had no idea what any of that was about, and at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of authorities on it. It wasn't like it is today, guys. You can just Google and you can pop up all kinds of stuff. So I was kind of like on my own. But I began to, when my father passed, again, I'll call this like a dine and dash type of situation because I knew when he died. I knew the exact time that he passed because all of a sudden, this energy, this negative mindset came over me. Now again, I was wearing protective, protective rituals and amulets and grounded myself, because of the experiences that I had. And this thing still kind of came over me. Now, this is where we all want to say, hey, if it ever happened to me, I would know exactly what to do, and I would know exactly what it would feel like, because my thinking was always to that point, even though I was around it, even though I was, my people that I knew were in possession situations, I always made the assumption, well, if this ever happens to me, I'll be able to feel it. I'll be able to know that my personality changes. You don't. You really, really, really don't. Um, it kind of creeps up on you, okay? And I'll give you an example. Let's just say someone is doing some annoying tapping. Just annoying tapping. It's kind of getting on your nerves a little bit. So instead of you saying, hey, could you do me a favor and kind of knock off that tapping? You're like, you know what? I'm going to take this machete and I'm going to cut that person's head off. And you think it's completely reasonable. That's how it happens, and that's how it gets you. You react adversely to things that are really, really simplistic. You overreact, and in your mind, you're rationalizing that. Well, that seems like a personally reasonable response to this situation. And that's the danger. That's why a lot of times people are in, when demonic possession starts to become a little bit more insidious, you don't feel it coming necessarily. You don't, there's no real rationale to be able to deal with it. It kind of insidiously grabs you, and you react certain ways, and you feel like it's completely rational. And that's what happened to me. My father had passed, and all of a sudden this energy came over me, and I got really vile, really angry, and a friend of mine said, "Wow, you're acting just like your father." That's kind of like what kind of got me to say, "Whoa, wait a minute. There's more going on here." Because at that point, it's like the frog in the pot. You don't know that it's slowly being turned up on you until you're actually in that situation, and that is exactly what happened to me. And once they said, "Hey, wow, you kind of sound just like your father," that was um, the red flag that I needed to say, "Wait a minute, there's something more going on here." And once I was able to make sense out of once I was able to have that rope that was extended to me and take that rope, all of a sudden there was this sense of calmness that came over me. I did a grounding prayer, saged myself, brought up my energy levels, and I became calm. See, and again, that's why I said um, sometimes these things can be a little bit tricky. Now, if that was not bad enough, um, if that was not bad enough, um, I was in a situation where my father had passed, everything was gone. The entity that from my childhood re made a resurgence in a big way, okay, in my life. So I began to physically see this thing. A lot of you know I'm originally from Philadelphia. I'm in Center City, Philadelphia. Under the bridge and things like that. I'm seeing this thing in the shadows. I mean, it really got really, really, really bad, and it kind of began to affect my personality a little bit. That's when with my father dying, it kind of did a lot to me, because I had to be responsible for all of the, it's very difficult trying to be there for someone that has tortured you for so long in your life and cost you so much. So I was dealing with that. I was emotionally vulnerable, and that's when you are at your lowest point. That's when it comes for you. That's when it comes for you, and that's what happened to me. And that's, coincidentally, like I said, nature finds a way. That's when I ran into Lupe, the shaman from Peru, that really kind of brought it all home for me. That ended up bringing it all home for me. That ended up making sense of everything, and really kind of gave me the tutelage that I needed to bring me to a point to understand that, listen, it doesn't matter how physically tough you think you are or how spiritually tough you think you are. When you are, again, I'm not advocating for or against Hollywood, but sometimes, like I said, they get it right. That movie Constantine, where Keanu Reeves' character she says, well, I don't believe in it. She says, well, it believes in you. And the minute that you begin to notice these entities in your life is the minute that they really begin to pay more attention to you. And that's why there is such a pushback from a lot of people that say, hey, don't do Ouija boards, don't do any kind of meditation, don't do any kind of scrying, don't get involved in any kind of sigil magic or any of that, because it's all bad. Because what it is now again, this is one of those good news, bad news things. I'll give you the bad news first. Bad news is, yeah, you do open yourself up to things. You do. When you really kind of start opening doors and looking behind curtains, sometimes there are bad things behind them. Okay, so that comes with the territory. On the same token, though, okay, you begin to see the world for how it really is. Okay, you really begin to see the layers and the complexities of this world. And so you become more informed. Now, along with you becoming more informed, you also have to be able to arm yourself. Arm yourself in means of protection, information, and knowledge. So there's, like I said, there's this duality here of good news, bad news. When you start going into occult practices and things like that, you are, and this is just keeping it 100% real and honest, you absolutely do open yourself up for these type of things to make their presence be known in your life. But with that being said, there's also information that, if you're really a student of the occult, that you can learn how to banish things, clean, saging, sigils that you can use to protect yourself. So that's why a lot of people get in trouble and open themselves up to possession. Okay, which is the subject of this talk, is because they kind of half-ass do it. They kind of go in kind of halfway, and then they start experiencing all of these crazy things, and they get scared, and so they kind of leave the door open, and they ask for help. The problem is, you open the door and you left it open. My advice would be, first, arm yourself before you go in that direction, number one. And number two, the first thing with anything is, you got to have a good defense. Learn how to defend yourself. Actually go to someone that is reputable, a reputable teacher that knows what they're talking about. So that would be my advice to you guys. Now, how I eventually end up getting rid of the entity is, I had an ayahuasca experience, and it was phenomenal. Ayahuasca, I'm going to do a whole video on that, because that is truly, it was truly a journey that I had. I was on a journey without even really knowing it, and ayahuasca kind of brought it all home. And once I was able to do that, the demonic entity, I was dissolved. I was broken. I was brought down to microscopic pieces, and so was the entity. And when I was put back together, it was just me, and the entity was gone. And so that's how I dealt with that. That's and other rituals and things like that were done. But that's how I was able to get rid of the demonic entity that had been, I was dealing with this thing for, wow, 20 some years, maybe 20, 25 years. Not 20. almost 30 years. I mean, so it was a while. I dealt with it for quite a while. So, also to dismiss the fable of, well, Hollywood movies, once you get rid of it, it's gone. You got to make sure it's gone, because there are times in my life, as soon as you kind of start slipping, again, remember what I said is you become this beacon of light. It's like a moth to a flame. So when you start slipping again and start getting into these aspects of your life where things start to really get bad, that's when you really got to make sure your energy levels are up and you're protecting yourself, because again, these things, they're attracted to you. Okay, and the last thing you want is, for me, is that I thought I had dealt with something, and then the big bad comes around again. All right, and it got me to the point where I was seriously contemplating suicide. And that's when things had just kind of reached its zenith point. It is real. Demonic possession is real. And don't let anybody else tell you to the contrary. Okay? It took me to the very brink, and I was only able to get out of that situation with an assist and help. So, especially if you're going through something like this, absolutely do not be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't matter how tough you are, okay, or how mentally tough or emotionally tough you think you are. It'll bring you to your knees if you let it. So I'm just making you aware of it so you know how to protect yourself. Now, I also am going to do a video on how to protect yourself against possession also. But I really want to touch here, before I close this thing out, on Hollywood versus reality. Okay? So, a full-blown possession, like what you see in The Exorcist, and you see demons and all that kind of flying around the room. That is extremely rare. Not saying it doesn't happen, though, but it is extremely rare for that type of thing to happen. All right? But there are times where there's like a straight up, full blown possession, things moving around and stuff like that. And when that type of thing happens, that is not a solo person's job to get rid of that. You're going to need an assist to get rid of something like that. That's a full blown thing. That happens very, very rarely, but it does happen. Okay, so again, there are certain things that Hollywood gets right, and certain things that Hollywood gets absolutely wrong. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Then I'm going to take some questions here. So I just want to make you guys aware that it's real. It's dangerous, but you need to be cognizant of your energy, be cognizant of your thoughts. And the reason I thought it would be a good idea to make this video now is because of the current state of the world with the whole lockdown. And so this is aspect of hopelessness, of feeling like you have no control, you have no power, you want to get outside, you want to get back to work. You guys, this is the time where you really need to make sure you are balanced, and really make sure that you're protecting your energy, you're protecting yourselves. I know a lot of these liquor stores are open and things like that. Again, I'm all for people kind of, throwing back a cold when it kind of relax a little bit. But you want to be careful about how much your alcohol you're consuming, the type of company that you surround yourself, people even doing social distancing, because you don't want to open yourself up to entities that will in the long run end up making things worse. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to go to some questions here. Flame. Okay, so Adonis, I agree with you. Lorraine, Adonis, I agree with you. It is very real. It is great when you have positive spiritual assistance and blessings. Yes, it is. And as I said before, do not be afraid to ask for some assistance and some help from qualified sources. There are a lot of quacks out there too, so you want to be cognizant of that as well. I love those paintings. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, go quick questions. Do you think the mind? Okay, Renee Grayson, do you think demonic possession could be linked to generational curses? Yes, I do. Yes, as a matter of fact, the situation with my father, that's still kind of unclear. The reason why I was I was able, I really adhered to the esoteric because my aunt is a full blown witch. Actually, she's very, 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 very good. She stopped it because she was engaged in some kind of ritual where she was gonna sacrifice her thumb for extra power. It was a crazy situation, but it's like it's common knowledge in my family that my grandmother was upstairs, and her and my aunt came downstairs throwing holy water everywhere. My aunt claimed she was in the kitchen with white candles, but they said they could feel the presence, and he ran downstairs and started throwing holy water everywhere. The fact of the matter here is Charlotte always believed that we had witches in our family, and also I did. I talked to an individual that a very good reader, and they also claimed that there was some type of generational, some type of curse on the male side of my family that I dealt with. I mean, my grandfather died. My great grandfather died at in the early 60s. My grandfather died in 64. My father died in 64. So yeah, I definitely believe in generational curses, but I also believe that they can be broken. Okay, but you just gotta really know what you're doing and go to reputable sources. Okay, let me see. Lisa creating very low energy, right? Lisa saying, be aware. It's all fake. It's the agenda of evil. Yeah. I mean, it could. I mean, I don't know, Yasmin, if you're referring to all the agenda. I don't know if you're talking about as far as magic and stuff goes and esoteric stuff. I mean, it really depends on how you use it. If you're referring to magic as a whole as being evil, I disagree with that. I believe knowledge is absolutely power, and that I think that you know that which makes us more aware is a good thing. Okay, Lorraine. Okay. Places that you go to visit or attend will at times everyone is being told to stay home. Lorraine, yeah, I agree with that. That's why you got to be very, very aware of who you surround yourself with. Hey Yanni, that was going to be my question. Okay, cool. Yasmin, yes, but it's up to okay, Lisa. I'm glad Renee asked that question. Wow, a lot of you guys had the same question about generational curses. Yes. I put it to you like this. I hope, at least I know from my that I've been able to protect myself. Now, as far as my brothers go, I've made them aware of what I've encountered, my experiences, because they were there too, and they experienced it. They've had slightly different experiences, not as potent, but they knew something weird was going on. So I was able to stop it as far as I was, but as far as the male thing on their end, I don't know. And you have to be really, they had to really open themselves up to be able to fully believe this. So I don't know. That's correct. Okay, Vince. We are basically in spiritual warfare. I agree. Spiritual warfare all the time. Getting overwhelmed with people who need help due to me being... Yeah, exactly. Does practicing tarot or getting reading open people up to these entities? Good question. Good question. Good question. So, I kind of did cover this a little bit. There are two kinds of... so there are two kinds of tarot readers out here. You have people that just kind of look at the book and memorize the definitions and then just start slapping cards down and doing reading for people, and that's one type of tarot reader. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that per se, I guess, because tarot is a tool. It is a tool in the toolbox. It really depends on like any tool. It's only as powerful or as handy as the person that's using it. So tarot is a tool. Now, when I'm a firm believer that the more that you mess with, the more that you do tarot, um, even inadvertently, even if you don't mean to, even if you just say I'm just doing it as a game, I'm just having fun. You start to become kind of intuitive. It just kind of happens because we're all naturally intuitive beings. We're all just naturally that way. So even if you may, fancy it to be a game, after a while, you're going, you kind of start, wow, you kind of start seeing the cards in your head, and you're kind of seeing how things are going to play out before you lay them down. When I really connect with people's energies, it's like I know each card, bang, bang. I know it like I literally know how the whole spread's gonna go. It's just a matter of me just laying them out. Like I already knew how this thing was gonna play out. That's when you're really connected to. That's when you're really connected to that person's energy, connected to source. But I will say this though. I will say this. Um, like anything else, you dare, and I'm probably gonna get dragged for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Yeah, you do open yourself up to a certain extent, because like I said before, when you begin to become more knowledgeable of it, it starts to notice you more. That's just the natural progression of things. Do I am Carl Champion D. Let me show you. I believe having seizures is a form of demonic. Um, you know, Nidra, I believe seizures. I can't say for sure. I don't know if having a seizure is a form of demonic. I've never experienced that. I think it's more of a chemical imbalance. Now it could be. I'm not saying that it's not. I just don't feel comfortable saying that one way or the other because I've never experienced that. I know some people that have seizures, and you know. It's a beautiful weekend. Okay, so can you advise qualified reputable sources in Peru or elsewhere to do the ayahuasca ceremony? Perhaps when you do the video on who can protect yourself. Yes, actually, I will give you. I'm going to do a whole video on ayahuasca. I'm going to give you guys some reputable sources because there are some people out there that are pandering false stuff, and it can kill you. There have been people that have actually gone for ayahuasca experiences and have actually been killed because they went with someone that's unreputable. So I'm going to make sure I give you reputable sources. Okay, don't worry about that. That's a good question. Okay. True, I've watched videos where I tell them to memorize the meaning of the cards, trusted show. Yeah. So, years ago I messed with the Ouija board. It's real. I have a huge story about this. Oh, Just T Baby. Okay. Oh, yeah, Just T Baby. I got your comment about the whole vacuuming situation, so we'll talk about that off this platform. Let me see here. You're amazing. Thank you, Shakira Bishop. I appreciate that. Let me see here. Exactly, Tanya. Apparently, if you play the Ouija board or watch horror movies, you're welcome to my entities into your home. Well, look. You can't. This is what I will say about tarot, the Ouija board, all of this. You can't live life scared of everything and every shadow. I was having things happen to me long before I knew what a Ouija board was and what tarot cards were. Shadow people, for example. I had experienced those things for years. I'm talking about like 6, 7, 8 years old. These type of things were happening around me, and so if you're an individual that just kind of that those type of things are just drawn to you, then those type of things are going to happen. Now again, the Ouija board. And I tell you what, Ouija boards, and this is one thing some advice I will give on the Ouija board. Do not, I repeat, do not do a Ouija board by yourself. Not advisable. If you're going to do a Ouija board, do it with someone else. You do not want to do a Ouija board by yourself because you are opening up a gate. By the way, the accuracy of Ouija boards, the funny thing is, Ouija boards, to a certain extent, are accurate to a point. But the issue with Ouija boards is you're not exactly sure if the entity you think you're talking to, you're actually talking to. That's the problem with Ouija boards. Ouija boards can be very deceptive. Okay, and also remember, any door you open, whether it be a Ouija board, whether it be a ritual, whether it be sigil magic, you gotta know A, what you're doing, and B, always close the door. Always close the door. If you open something up, make sure you know what you need to do to shut it down, to close it, because you're going to just leave that bad boy open. And a lot of times, I'll go back to the questions here real quick. There was a situation in which a friend of mine had done a ritual, and and thought everything was shut down. So all of a sudden, all kinds of things start happening in the home, strange noises and things of that nature. Turns out that, first thing he started doing was looking to see if there was any kind of sigils or anything that he had just kind of open laying around that he hadn't closed. So even people that know what they're doing sometimes, kind of get a little bit lazy. Make sure whatever you guys do, if you learn a ritual, make sure you know how to banish that ritual. Make sure you know how to shut things down. If you're going to do the Ouija board, do it with somebody else and make sure you shut it down. Always, 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 always. Cannot stress that enough. Okay, Lisa say. Okay. I recall as a young teen living in bed being awakened by a heavy weight on top of me. I only knew about JC was rebuking it and went away. Okay, Jesus Christ. Okay. Okay, so shadow people are demonic entities. Quite possible. Quite possible shadow people, shadow entities are demonic in nature. Or, put it to you like this. Okay? Let me put it to you like this. All right? There are, just like there are good and bad people. Okay? You got some people that have good intentions. Some people got bad intentions. There's always entities around us all the time, whether you are aware of it or not. And, the one thing I can say to people is, I am not against people learning esoteric practices or studies or any of that. Make sure you surround yourself in the light and you keep yourself in the light. Okay, make sure you can balance yourself and make sure that you know how to protect yourself. And anything that you learn how to do, make sure you learn how to shut it down and protect yourself. I'm not the type of person to say, well, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should do that. Also, I don't think you should live life scared. These, a lot of things have been suppressed. A lot of information has been suppressed. And so, I think that in time, these things are going to become more common. So, the knowledge, with the internet has just brought an array of knowledge to us. So let me get to some of these questions. Renee, do you believe having an altar and an ancestral altar in the home will help protect your space in the home? Absolutely. I absolutely believe that. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. Okay, Lorraine, I agree with no specific person. I agree with you. Know what you are doing if you open a specific door. Absolutely. Side of him, I love the crystal bracelets you have. Can you share where you get them from? You have an awesome informative channel, Don. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Believe it or not, my daughter of many, many talents. I got this from Aquarion bookstore. It's like an esoteric store around my area. That's where I originally got the bracelets from. I broke it, and my daughter, strung it back together again. So she strung this one together. So you can get them from any esoteric shop. Well, now everything's closed, but usually you can kind of get them online or wherever. And also you can kind of make them yourself. You get the individual beads. So, and of course I saged them, I blessed them. They're good to wear out as well. They look very fashionable, I may say so myself. But also, they work as far as charms and protection, especially the evil eye right here. All right? So, okay. What do you think about Reiki? It involves opening and closing chakras for energy healing. Good question. Good question. So, let me show you guys a true story here. I had two chakra healings. One was a very bad experience, and one was very positive. So, if again, I'm going to stress that if a person knows what they are doing, okay, and know and does the proper technique, it can be very therapeutic, helping cleanse your chakras can be a very positive thing. However, the first experience I got was almost my last experience. It was this lady in Media, PA, and I went and got a chakra, a healing, cleansing, if you will, and I got violently ill, like violently ill, for a couple of days actually. Um, Later, I was having an art exhibit about a month later, and I invited her and her husband to come. And at that point, I kind of noticed her overall demeanor and her aura was very negative. All right. And so, you know, if you're going to do Reiki, all right, Reiki is a good exchanging energy. Also, you Reiki guys, make sure you protect yourself as well, because you're cleansing out energy, because you don't know what kind of energies that other people have as well. But you know, the person that you go, the Reiki practitioner you go to, sometimes first impressions are lasting ones. I didn't notice this right from the bat from her, but I became really, really sick because her overall energy was very negative. So you want to really make sure you get sometimes reading reviews on people really, really helps. Okay, but Reiki, if you go to the right person, um, if you go to the right person, then you'll be okay. But make sure they're reputable. That's very, very key here. Demons can take on the image of real people that have passed on. Um, I've noticed that maybe in dreams. I haven't seen that like out and about in everyday life, but in dreams, yes, that's definitely possible. Uh, okay, Stone, an empath. I noticed that I get used and abused because of my kindness. I've just noticed someone using manipulation and mind control techniques on me. Any advice on preventing this in the future? Yeah. Um, First of all, um, there are people that mistake kindness for weakness, and if you've been following me for any period of time, I am a very spiritually balanced individual. But I'm human too, and I do have a little bit of an attitude. You need to learn how to say no. No. Do not let yourself be abused by anyone, because you have self worth and you have your person. If you're a person of quality and standards, like a lot of time when I'm doing love readings, there are people that no matter what, like I want to be with this person, and I'm doing personal readings, and I'm like, listen, this person is just an overall toxic individual. And so usually people that you know. A lot has to do with childhood trauma, but I'll get into that in a different video here. But learn how to say no. Surround yourself with good people. Realize you deserve quality, that you deserve better for yourself, and those things will start to come into your life. But you first have to start with learning how to say no. Okay, and also understand that kindness is a two-way street. Respect people that respect you. All right. Um, My grandmother used to start the phrase "come eating too late" the night before bed. Okay, cool. Family, yes indeed. Okay, coffee. Hello, Adonis. 2 years ago, I met a sad man who fell in like a time, but he fell in love. Got scared and ghosted me. But he touched me every night after ghosting me. How do I block it? Wow. Okay. Well, first off, a binding ritual would be a good thing to do, binding that individual away from you. Also, a banning ritual, if you will. I'm going to get another video into candle magic and banishing rituals and things like that. This is specifically for possession, but do not worry. You may want to bind that individual to keep them from coming near you. Keep them out of your space. But that's for another video, because you can kind of got to go deep with it, because if you do a binding ritual wrong, you can end up hurting yourself. So, yeah, he drains me. Is too sexual for me. How do I block a man who loves to touch me? Okay, well, this guy's beginning to sound like a damn succubus or something. All right, so yeah, just say some prayers. Also, a quick 30 method: say some prayers and ground yourself. All right, and that will help. I'm going to get into more deep protection rituals on another video here. I just say though, I forgot about saying it. I used to be like that. Yeah, okay. So give me some advice on staying how to be grounded. Unfortunately, it's at work. Unfortunately, it's at work. Well, as soon as you can, transfer to another department, or as soon as you can, leave that job and go to another. Narcissists are attracted to empaths. We can't save everyone. Yeah, and that's true. Narcissistic people are attracted to empaths because there's a compassion, there's an empathy there. There's an open wound there, they're like succubus. All right, now getting to demonic entities are not just come from the netherworld. You have people that are walking around that are very demonic in nature. Okay, the two-legged kind of people. They can be very demonic too. And that's why you got to learn how to protect yourself. That again, so there are certain people that love chaos, and that have a hellish mentality. I strongly suggest that you stay away from people like that if at all possible. It's harder when you have those people at places where you work or have them in your family. But if at all possible, have as little contact with people like that as possible, because they will bring you down to their level, and and just feast off of your energy. Okay, so just make sure you protect yourself. Reiki is demonic, hypnotism is demonic, channeling, summoning spirits is demonic. Pamela, black magic, voodoo, okay, well, Pamela, you're welcome, and I definitely welcome your differentiating opinion. That's cool. I happen to disagree with you about 90% of that, because there are I know some very good people that do channeling, do tarot. So I'm not going to say that this demonic, but your opinion is definitely welcome. But I just happen to agree with 85 to 95% of it. But hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Do you find it easier to read tarot cards versus oracle cards? Actually, yes, I do. I tarot, not so much easier. Really depending on the oracle. Not every oracle deck, I think. Because some people have oracle decks that I just don't resonate with at all. Okay, I'm not going to mention any deck by name, but some oracle decks I think are just, honestly, I just think some people release oracle decks just to make a quick buck, that really have no real substance to them. But I always, tarot to me is grade A, and there are certain decks that I resonate with, oracle decks. One here would be Sacred Earth Oracle deck. This deck, I love this deck actually. Okay, this is what I do for my weekly love readings. I love this deck. Resonates with me a lot, actually. Yeah, and also, believe it or not, we got here. Okay, even though Doreen Virtue has recently kind of moved away from being affiliated with anything like this. She made some very good decks, oracle decks, that resonate Okay, I kind of think somebody kind of got the Doreen, kind of talked to her, put a little bit of a bug in her ear or something, and she kind of moved away from all of it. But I still think she makes some. The decks that she made are very hardcore quality. Again, she moved away from it, and she disavowed everything. But I still, like I said before, I thank her for her time, and I appreciate the fact that she made a good quality deck. It can damage you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay, keep it up. You are. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. What's up, Chuck? You appreciate it, brother. They can damage you. Everything is not evil. It's a person, a spirit that's sage and mirror. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Can you also touch on protection rituals? Yes, I will absolutely touch on protection rituals. Okay. Again, with these videos, guys, I got a whole slew of these things that I'm going to do. All right, from ayahuasca, reputable ayahuasca sources, to a video on tarot that did the original origins of tarot. Okay, a tarot. Also on protection rituals. Also some sigils. Also some candle magic. So I have a whole bunch of things that I want to roll out to you guys. All right. So no worries there. But they're just going to have to be separate. Maybe I'll do maybe a video where I kind of push maybe two subjects together. But I really want to give in-depth information. I don't just kind of want to give like drive-by information and slam it out there and then have to move away from it real quick. I really want to give people a chance. I'm going to put it out there, give people a chance to ask some questions. I got to get a little bit better with answering the questions and things like that. So, yeah, but I'm going to put several videos out there. Also, I'm still doing my tarot readings, okay? I haven't abandoned it at all. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. But the tarot readings, they're going to mainly be dropped on the weekend, though. Saturdays and Sundays, guys. So just to put that out there. Beautiful decks. Anything I know what I've seen and experienced myself. Okay, can you speak on the benefit of meditation? Okay, so benefit of meditation. Meditation it's kind of like an overall all around good thing. It's good for your health, physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. It's kind of like you're putting your body in a state of rest, in a state of calm. Basically, is what meditation does. It puts you in a state of calm. You're able to open up your mind and you're able to relax your mind, relax your spirit, relax your soul. Also, it is therapeutic and calming, slowing everything down, and that has very, very good health benefits too. Okay, meditation is good for digestion. Meditation is good and therapeutic for pain. Also, meditation is also good for when you're about to do some type of athletic event. Okay, it helps you really tune into different parts of your body to really concentrate on the parts of your body that need to be healed or relaxed. So meditation, I could do a whole video on the benefit of meditation actually. So that's just some of the benefits of meditation. But meditation is, as I described with my friend, is something that should be done every day. And I am guilty. I do not do meditation every day, but I should. It was nice. What is something you can speak on the benefit of meditation? Place if you feel that way. Well, okay. I have Lorraine Virtue has spoken about the occult and tarot even being them. Oh God. Hello, Pamela. Now I know I've already established the fact with Doreen Virtue. I just believe that someone got into her ear and she just kind of I really can't explain what's going on with Doreen Virtue. You know what? When I start doing interviews in August, I may reach out to Doreen. Hopefully she'll come in and let her give her side of the story. All right. Also, if you guys got any suggestions for people you think I should talk to, I'm going to start interviewing people on my channel. So make sure you put that in my DM. You give me some people you guys may want to see me interview. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. If so, I'm going to ask the hard questions. So make sure you send me people that you guys want to hear from, that you're not afraid of me kind of getting in their wedge and digging deep. All right.
I have an ex that is confused to believe he is a communist narcissist. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Okay, you're awesome. But thank you. You guys are awesome too. I truly appreciate it. Okay, what other topics would you like to hear? Okay, that's my handler. I'm reading her. I'm reading that person. Okay, so at any rate, I am going to begin to kind of shut things down here at this point. So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, the tarot readings will resume tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a weekly, and then I'm going to be doing a love and loss on Sunday. Okay, so things are going to resume. I'm going to be doing this type of thing 2 to 3 times a week. Objectively, I want to do it 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, doing a live show like this where I can interact with you guys. I like interacting with you guys. Get your opinion, because it kind of lets me know that people really give a shit. They really care. And I really want to kind of share what I know. And so and you guys' feedback is very, very, very much appreciated and welcome. Even if you disagree with me, like Pamela, even if you disagree, I still want to hear from you, because I do not mind having a healthy discourse. It's fine. It doesn't have to be personal, but I really, want to, really, I would love to do classes with you. Yeah. I've been thinking about that. I've been really thinking about. I've been asked that by several people, and I've been thinking about it. It really depends. It really depends. It really, really depends on a lot. I want to be able to put something out there that's going to be quality. And I don't know if it's going to be live classes or if it should be recorded classes, or how would the format be. So there's a lot of, I don't just want to put crap out there. I want to put something out there of quality, and that's what my concern is. So yeah. So at any rate, because doing any platform with Sage Amir, she clearly is not open-minded. She is not rap chat. Okay. Well, I'm not. Okay. All right. Well, that's what caution you guys doing. Here's the thing. I'm not in this to dog anybody. I'm just in this to say, hey, I have a gift. I'm sharing it with people. I know, sometimes I get a little bit passionate about social stuff, that you guys have seen yesterday about the 5G and the COVID-19 approach and stuff like that. I am a human. I am living on this planet like you guys do, and I have a dog in this fight. So, like I said before, I got a big mouth, and sometimes I'm just gonna speak my mind. But you know what? I love you guys so much. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, daughter, for helping me make all of this possible. I love you. And I love you guys too. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the love readings. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye bye.